Hey, you did it. You found it. You found the podcast version of the show. It's Writer Radio. Here are the things you need to know. We stream live Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to noon Eastern Time at writerradio.com. 2, you can find every episode on YouTube, youtube.com/@writerradio. We're on Spotify, same name, Writer Radio. We are on Twitter or X @BradWriter, BradRiter. We're on Instagram @Writer Radio. There's a group now, Writer Radio Facebook group. Go there, find that, follow that, like it, whatever you have to do. We've got a phone number. You can send texts, leave voicemail, 716-288-5246. Email, bradwriter@gmail.com. You don't need to memorize this. It can all be found at writerradio.com. That's the hub. But those are the places. Thanks for listening. Please tell a friend. Please share. That's how we grow. Glad to have you on board to the podcast version of Writer Radio.
The way my kids date now, it's so simple. They go on an app, whether it's Grindr or whatever, they swipe right, swipe left, and they get to date automatically.
Let's check in with Writer Radio's
living legend,
Bob Gaughan.
We're just going to start this. What am I doing? There we go. We're just going to start the show 100 miles an hour. It took me 3 times to say we're going to start it 100 miles an hour, so maybe we're not. But I feel like we're blasting out of the gates when Bob Gaughan is here right at the start of the show. I haven't spoken a word yet, and he's calling in. There he is. What's up, Bob?
Hey, Brad, how you doing?
I'm doing great. This is a good way to start the show. I like this idea.
I do, too.
Yeah.
Yes, this is fun.
Let's do it. What's on your mind?
Well, first of all, I want to start off, let's talk about, I have a nuanced approach to climate change. I want to talk.
Oh, this is what I expected. This is what I expected from you today.
No,
yeah,
no.
okay.
Well, it's a beautiful October day here, and here's my nuanced approach. And tell me if you agree, because I'm not a climate denier. Actually, I think that the climate change has happened here in Buffalo. And you've lived here for many years. I've lived here for many years.
Yep.
And I would say my first nuanced approach is that there has been a change in the weather in Buffalo, but what's different for me is I actually think that it's actually improved Buffalo's weather because the winters aren't as bad. So when everybody talks about climate change, it's a bad thing. So my nuanced approach, point number 1 is, yes, winter is different than it was when I was a kid, and the snow that was here in November was still here in March. It's not that way anymore. So, yes, the climate has changed, but instead of it being a bad thing, I think it's a good thing for Buffalo.
So
what do you think of that?
I like it. You'd like to congratulate us. I remember, honestly, the first time I heard the phrase global warming, I thought, well, that sounds great. You know, I understand there are other ramifications, but hearing it right out of the gate, I thought, I live in Buffalo. I'm cold all the time. If it was warmer, that would probably be better. I don't know, and I don't care enough to look into the data. But I will say, I feel like when I was a kid and they taught you March is in like a lion and out like a lamb, that's April now. So, I feel like everything is moved by a month. You know, you can reasonably play golf in November. That wasn't a thing when I was a kid. But you could also play in March, like late March. And that was a thing when I was a kid. So I feel like it shifted. But to your point, yeah, a couple degrees here and there, definitely better for Western New York.
Right, and I do agree with you, the shift, and you could also go to when I was growing up, there was Tornado Alley, was Texas, Oklahoma, Nebraska, Kansas. Now it's Dixie Alley. So there has been a shift that way, too, right? The tornadoes are now Alabama, Mississippi, Tennessee, Kentucky, more. So I think there is a shift in the calendar. You're absolutely right. In Buffalo, as a golfer, I can tell you fall golf is so much better than spring golf.
Aside from looking for your ball with the leaves. That's the only knock on it. But the temperature is great, the crisp air, it's awesome.
No, you're right. So that could be a second point. There has been a shift in the weather, but it's not necessarily a bad thing. I love September and October now. Again, not so. I hate April. April's like the worst month of the year for me here in Buffalo.
And for me, as we're trying to play baseball games that we know aren't going to be played, why are we scheduling them that last week of April? We know we're not playing them. We never play them. We always schedule them. We never play them.
And my final point is, again, and I'm not a denier, but I think the climate people overplay their hand. And what I mean by that is, like, everything is an example of climate change. Oh, we had a tornado. Well, it's an example of climate change. Well, wait a minute. You know what? Why is it that we didn't have many hurricanes this year that hit the U.S.? Why is that proof that there isn't climate change, right? You know, why does every storm have to be, you know, I want to go back to like, what's your ideal year? Is it like 1978? Okay, we had a bad storm here in 77. You know, I want to go back to that year and see how many storms there were across the world in 1978. They won't give you an exact year. I just think, like, here's the way I think. You tell me if you're the same thing. You know, there was a storm, and they say this is the, you know, a bad storm, you know, similar to one we had in 1992, which to me means, oh, so we did have this storm before in 1992, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I want to hear with climate change. And this is why I say you overplay your hand.
Right.
You know, if a storm or a group of storms we've never had before, like that storm we had in, you know, the Christmas a couple of years ago, was something I never experienced in my life. Now I would say, okay, and this is why I say I'm not a denier. That's proof of climate change, because I never experienced something like that before. But to say that there was a storm and we had the same storm 30 years ago, that doesn't prove to me climate, because we had that storm already, you know?
Yeah. So what you're saying is you need a control group. You need some standard that we're going to compare things to, and there's nobody willing to establish that standard. So therefore, any research we're doing or any comparison we're doing is kind of for naught, because there's never going to be enough direction to the plan to study it and compare. I see there's nuance in everything, I think, is your point, and that's kind of where I live, where it's like I don't believe anyone who is barking extremely loudly about anything, because either you're way over there or you're way over there,
right?
And the subtlety is lost. That doesn't work anymore. Part of that is social media. Part of that is the real media mimicking social media. So everything is about an extreme reaction to anything that happens. You know, it's a knee-jerk reaction to everything. It's be as loud as possible, be as wild as possible, get as much attention as possible. And I can't believe what anyone's saying, because I think everyone's just looking for attention, which is killing us.
No, you're absolutely right with that point. But yes, because I'm somewhere in the middle. I am not. It seems like there's two camps. You either have to be in the camp that you believe in climate change, or you have to be in the camp that you don't. Whereas, no, I'm somewhere in the middle.
Yeah,
I do believe in it.
I kind of believe in everything.
Yeah, I do believe in it, but I don't believe it's necessarily bad for every community. And again, it might be bad for some. I'm just talking about a Buffalonian,
right.
And I think we would all agree that, you know, your kids, my kids, but what we experience, like in the winter, when I learned to drive, I used to have to peek out of my driveway because I had 2 pillars of snow.
Right.
I lived, as everybody lived, in 2 pillars of snow, and I'm peeking out my driveway because I can't see. My kids have never experienced that. They don't know. Now, they might have experienced it because we had a bad storm for a short period of time, but it wasn't the whole winter period.
Winter, yeah.
It wasn't all of winter. So I know that times the things have changed, but I'm saying it's changed. It's better. It's better. I love the fact I love Buffalo's weather a lot more than I loved it back in 1978.
You know what?
So
thinking about it, Bob, when I was a kid, and my parents still live in the same house that I grew up in. When I was a kid, we lived right next door to a parking lot. There's a fire hall right next to my parents' house. And from, I don't know, late November, mid-December, something like that, through early March, there was a snowbank that I could sled on, that I would make forts on, like all that stuff. My oldest kid is 13. My youngest is 8 today, actually, or is 9, today. They've never played on the snowbank that I remember existing for my entire childhood every winter, and that's not happened in the last 13 years, so that's pretty weird.
Yeah, no, I definitely feel like this is a thing. It is definitely a thing, but nobody would ever make the point, I think, the people that believe in climate change, that it could be a good thing. Right? It's like, no, we're never going to, it's always bad. It's got to be bad. Well, maybe not so bad, at least here in Buffalo.
I love that it's October 8th, and you're just talking snowstorms, and it's perfect. It's perfect. Just start the show with that. That's great. Love it.
But it's just different.
Bob.
It just came to mind, and the reason it came to mind is because of the lack of hurricanes this year that actually hit the U.S. I think there were hurricanes this year, but it seems like they all went up in the ocean, and very few of them hit the coast, and it just, dawned on me, why is this proof? By the way, there's another weather-related thing. Let me just get this out of the way, because this was something we talked about a couple of weeks ago, and I have the data to prove it up. In baseball, you really can't play in rain. We all know that. We've all experienced that. Football, you can play in rain. This goes to the wussification of football. In the month of September, here's the data. There were 4 rainouts in baseball. There were 12 weather delays in college football.
Come on.
So you were 3 times more likely to get a delay in college football than you were in baseball, even though you can play football in the rain and you can't play baseball in the rain. I think that is a weather point. It's also a wussification of our society point.
Well, we may have talked about this, but I remember looking, because you sat right next to me during most the home UB games anyway, and I remember you showing me on your phone the one day that there were like 4 games in delay all at the exact same time, and it has to do with Lightning being within, 8 miles of the
8
stadium?
miles. Exactly.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
No, you're
Stop
right. I
the
think
world.
if there's lightning in Chicago, UB's got to hold up their game. It's ridiculous.
Has anyone ever in life has Lightning injured a person at a football game ever? Has it done anything except blow up Lee Corso's car in the parking lot at Virginia Tech? That's the only Lightning thing I've ever seen actually have impact on football, and that wasn't football. That was the parking lot.
Right. No, not to my knowledge. Not to my memory. That has not happened.
I think we should let it happen once. I think we should fry. We should fry one sacrificial person. Once it hurts one person, then the delays are justified. But until then, they are not justified. So let's say, hey, this is in honor of Johnny Smith, who was hit by lightning when we didn't do the delay thing. Now we do the delay thing. They didn't put the nets up at ice rinks until the girl was killed in Columbus, Brittany Cecil. I don't remember why I don't know why I remember her name, but a girl was killed, and they're like, all right. I mean, we all knew it was very dangerous. Especially, I remember doing, I was doing security the year that the Jumbotron fell. I was doing security at the arena, and one of the things that I had to do pretty often was guard the Jumbotron, because once it fell, they had a screen at each end of the arena. But I remember being scared out of my mind during warm-ups because they're just taking slap shots and ripping them into the crowd. And it took someone dying before they put up the nets. So let's fry somebody, and then we'll start doing lightning delays again.
Right. Well, it's maybe the litigious society, because in the 80s, my cousin got hit. I was sitting right next to him, and Van Boxmeer, that shows you how long ago, John Van Boxmeer comes around. He's trying to clear the puck off the glass, and it goes right over the glass. We had good seats in the Golds, and hits my cousin right in the eye. And we didn't think of now we better sue because they didn't have a net up. That wasn't even part of our thinking. It was, thank you for the staff of the Sabres that stitched him up and did such a great job of stitching him up, because that's what they do and they're used to that. And instead of, we thanked them. Oh my God, thank you so much. Because I wasn't looking, because I was looking down for my popcorn or something like that, and I could have gotten it. I don't blame them, but that's just the way society is now. I assume they have to put a net up because, again, somebody's gonna get hurt and somebody's gonna sue.
Did they get to keep the cup or the puck rather?
I got the puck.
I
got the puck. Of course, that was the first thing I did. Is we're walking out and he's bleeding. Hey, there's the puck. I got to pick that up. Come on. I had my priorities. I had my priorities straight. Of course.
And you didn't give it to the dude who got hit in the eye and had to get
stitched
up?
I did. No, I give.
Oh, he's got the puck. Okay.
Yeah, he's got the puck.
Right.
Yeah.
Did you see the thing on the Bills game when the guy caught the ball that Josh overthrew and then he ran away? Have you seen this story? Like why that happened?
No.
They sit in those seats regularly, and like shared season tickets or something, and multiple times have had a ball given to them, and then have had someone from the Bills come over and ask for it back to take it away. So he legit was running away so that they couldn't get the ball from him. And then he did end up coming back, and he did end up giving the ball back, and they gave him a different ball. But for whatever reason, the NFL can't allow that ball to just leave with that guy, which I have always thought was totally fine. If the ball goes in the crowd, it's yours.
Right.
I mean,
They don't have enough balls. This is like baseball. They have enough baseballs that if a ball goes in the stands, they don't need it back. This isn't like 1910 where they have to have the ball back. So, but you're telling me in the multi-billion-dollar industry that is football, we don't have enough footballs?
Yes.
That we can't let that guy keep the ball? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
There aren't really that many balls that go into the stands.
No, it happens.
Really, I think
3 times a week total.
Yeah. So
in the NFL, I think they should be able to afford that. That should be a part of it.
It should be.
I mean, you should be able to jump on the field and grab a ball, but if a ball accidentally goes to you, why would you not be able to? I don't know. That seems crazy to me. And then I was thinking about, I was going to connect it to, at the UB game the other day. So the UB game, you were not there anymore because you had gone to Anchor Bar. But the game ends on a fumble, and Kobe Stewart recovers it. And Kobe Stewart immediately, and this happened right in front of us, Kobe Stewart's mom is sitting in the front row right in front of us. Kobe Stewart runs over, gives the football to his mom, and immediately there's somebody there from Eastern Michigan to get the ball. It's their football. It's not apparently an NCAA football or a MAC football. It's an Eastern Michigan football. So a guy comes over with a stern look on his face and just stands there with his arms crossed, waiting to get the ball back from this woman whose son just recovered it and brought it to her. Eventually, she did give it back, but she hung out, took a bunch of pictures with it, pictures with the rest of the family, and then they eventually handed the ball back. I thought that was pathetic, but at least that was college and MAC and Eastern Michigan. To see that happen where the Bills are taking a football back from a fan who made a great catch on a rocket throw from the strongest arm quarterback in the league, he doesn't get to keep that ball, that bothers me, Bob.
Oh, absolutely. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing for the NFL. Sometimes the NFL is embarrassing. I do have a point. Let me talk about the Bills, though, first.
Okay.
There's 2 points. One thing that problem the Bills have can be fixed. I think one problem can't be fixed. From their loss. Trey White, a great story. I'm sorry. He's not that good anymore. And that's a problem that can be fixed when Hairston has to come back. Your first-round pick has to come back. And when he comes back, I think that problem will be fixed. And it wasn't a shock that they were putting in their fifth-round pick, and it was going back and forth with White. But then, neck injury, so he's out. So Trey White has to play, a lot more now. But I do think that the Bills actually saw this as a problem when they were going back and forth, saying, "Oh, we just want to see if our fifth-round pick can play, and him and White are splitting time." But no, they were realizing that White is a real problem now. Hopefully that problem is fixed when your first-round pick can come back. That's one problem that can be fixed. I think a problem that can't be fixed is one that we were talking about a long time, and this is, again, where Brandon Beane stepped in it months ago. I said it was going to be a problem, and that is when they play good defensive backs, and New England has a good secondary, the separation from the receivers is just not there. Yeah. And it hasn't been there, and that problem's not going away, and their only solution, their only way to get around it is we throw jump balls to Keon Coleman because, he's a former basketball player, and that's one guy, but that's okay, but it would be nice to have some speedster that can actually get some physical separation, and they just don't have it against great secondaries, and I see that as a problem not only now, but, going into the playoffs.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough because the quarterback can do so much, and he can fit into tight windows more often than he doesn't. But, I mean, it's no coincidence that you go up against a team with a secondary like that, and suddenly there are a couple of interceptions on the board after none in forever. The Bills turned the ball over, once in the first 4 games, and then 3 times in the game against the Pats. So, there's definitely something there, and you're right. It does seem to be unfixable at this point. I mean, there is still a trade deadline. That's a possibility, but I don't know. I think they like what they have. That's what they've shown. They seem pretty dedicated to this. That said, they are always looking to improve the roster. So to say that nothing can be done about it, I think is slightly incorrect. Nothing can be done about it in-house. Like there are moves that could be made, but I don't know if they're inclined to do that.
Yeah, and it seems like they always, in the off season, their answer is bring in this fast guy that was really fast 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Right? But he's not so fast. He's not so fast now. So, they just could use a Shaheed or somebody that can. And this is going back to Brandon Beane being upset about, what do you mean? We love our receiver room. Yeah, well, okay. And I said it was going to come up. There was going to be a point, just a matter of time, when I didn't love the receiver room, and I didn't love the receiver room on Sunday night when they couldn't get away from a great secondary in New England.
Right, and then it's accentuated by the fact that a guy that used to be on your team is up there separating at will from your defense in Diggs. It was time for him to go. He was great here, and it was time for him to go. I don't have a problem with him not being on the team anymore, but it did kind of make the point for us. Like, oh, yeah, that's what things used to look like when there was a guy who had that skill set working with Josh Allen.
No, my only problem with that was I thought he was the guy that wanted out just as much. Don't come out like, I can't believe you let me go when I wanted to get out of here.
Right.
Well, wait a minute here. I've got a bone to pick with you, Brad. You kicked me off your show, and now I'm, upset. Right. Cut it out. Cut it out.
He wanted out. He got out. He wants it.
He got it out.
Doing the same thing everywhere. It's fine. They love him right now. Eventually, they'll be sick of him. Then he'll go somewhere else, and they'll love him, and then they'll be sick of him, or he'll retire. I don't know. But I get it. But, again, the point was just, man, look at what this guy is able to do. I wish we had a guy like that in the wide receiver room.
All right, lastly, I got to give you a stone cold lock.
Oh, yeah.
But it goes in connection with the wussification of football. I'm going with the Colts -6.5 against Arizona because I totally disrespect the Arizona Cardinals for fining their head coach $100,000 when he got upset because their running back made a boneheaded play and fumbled at the half-yard line. DeMarcado fumbles at the half-yard line. He gets upset. He might have hit the guy in the chest, and now he has to come out and he has to apologize. And the organization fines him $100,000. I'm thinking, what he should have done is said, okay, I accept the $100,000 fine, and I have another announcement to make. We're cutting DeMarcado, right?
Right.
We're cutting this guy because he's an idiot. So, but they don't do that. It's just like, we grew up in an era. I just think of my kids playing Little League football, and if they would have done that, their head coach would have crucified him, and I would have sat there and just said, hey, what are you going to do, you idiot? Why'd you drop the ball at the half-yard line,
Would have crucified him while holding him by the face mask.
Yes, exactly.
Right?
Lou Holtz would have grabbed him by the face mask and dragged him and said, don't you ever do that again. And I would have been like, yeah, hey, you deserved it. You don't do it again. But no, that's not the society we live in today. So I'm going because I think Arizona needs tougher football players. Because I think, if this exemplifies their team, I like the Colts this week -6.5.
Well, how about the fact that the NFL is not taking action on it? Like, that's the NFL's place to say this is not something we can have. For the team, the league, the story, following an unforced fumble that negated a would-be 72-yard touchdown by DeMarcado, Gaughan approached the running back, yelled in his face, and then swiped his arm, appearing to contact him, video showed. The NFL will not take any action, yet the team fines him $100,000. That's not a team I want to root for.
No, I thought he was calm. I'm thinking of the famous meme of Nick Saban and Will Muschamp. Have you ever seen that? Where some guy's coming off the sidelines. I don't know what he did. I just look for that. Those two guys are just chewing some poor guy out for what he did. You can't do that. You can't do that anymore? This was the number one, and it had just happened the week before. And it's not like DeMarcado is friggin' Barkley,
right?
Who scores a touchdown, all the so used to it. This guy's trying to be, cool by going in and dropping the ball at the half-yard line. He doesn't hit the end zone that much. Again, I just don't get it. I just don't get why our society is becoming so wimpy, and like this is just accepted. I think there should be more people like me and you, having outrage about it. But there's not,
All right, I've got a little outrage. How has that happened more than once in the history of football? I get it happening the first time. How have we gotten to a point where, once a year, once every 2 years, or in the Cardinals case, twice in 2 weeks, but you get what I'm saying? Like the first time it happened, let's use Deshaun Jackson. I'm sure it happened before him. But Deshaun Jackson, I still think of him when this play happens. It happened to him. How does every single person in the NFL, like, what is so cool about letting go of the ball as quickly as you possibly can? Run right through the back of the end zone, then drop whatever you'd like. I don't get it. I don't get how it happens.
No, but it happened. You're right. So it happens to the Colts. It happens to Mitchell of the Colts last week. You would think every coach would have said, this can't happen. Or we just saw it happen a week ago. And then you do it. So that to me is even more infuriated as a coach, and that's why I would have really chewed him out. Did exactly what Gaughan did, because we must have just talked about it, because it just happened last week to another team. This can't happen again, and it happens in back-to-back weeks. I have no sympathy for the player here. None whatsoever.
None whatsoever. How about this? I've got a way to make all of this feel better. Let's pretend that the Cardinals fined Jonathan Gannon $100,000 for being the type of coach who has a running back who dropped the ball at the 1-yard line. They fined him for having that team, not for his anger, not for swiping his arm or whatever it was, but for letting that happen. And then I feel better about it. $100,000. All right, you can still be my coach. You're not fired, but you better get your team in order, and you owe me $100,000. I liked it. I liked it that way.
And it was 28-6. It would have been 28-6 at that point. Instead, 21-6, and Tennessee comes back to win 22-21. It literally, I know there were a lot of things that happened after that, but that cost them the game.
Absolutely. That's horrible. Yeah. All right.
All right, Brett.
You got a lock?
That was
your lock. That's your lock. You're right. Colts, because you don't believe in. Yes, I got it. I'm sorry. I
believe that. I believe that Arizona is a weak,
cowardly
football team.
Yes.
All right. That's it.
Thanks, Bob. Gaughan.
All right, you got it, Brett.
All right, we'll talk to you next week. There's Bob. Why did I just asked if he had a lock? He just told me his lock, and I was like, hey, Bob, can you just say all the stuff you just said again? Because I'm terrible at this, and I forget things right away. Right after you say them, I forget that you said them. All right, that's Bob Gaughan kicking off the show today. It's a good way to start. Just global warming at 10 o'clock on a Wednesday in October with Bob. Love it. Today's show is brought to you by thefinancialguys.com, specifically by Brian Janik at thefinancialguys.com. He's a 20-plus year independent insurance broker that will hook you up. You don't even have to pay him. He just helps you navigate the confusing world. If it's confusing to you, like it's confusing to me, the world in general, but specifically if you're approaching 65 and Medicare is in your future, Brian will take care of you, and you never have to pay him because he gets paid through insurance companies. So he's just going to help you navigate the changes in your world, your life, your portfolio. He's got your back. Brian Janik at thefinancialguys.com. All right, we're going to take a timeout. We'll be right back. Bob Gaughan, thankfully, here to get the show started. We'll start it again in just a couple minutes as we continue with episode number 183. 183 episodes of Writer Radio. Stay tuned. This portion of Writer Radio has been deleted for the podcast version. If you want to hear everything that happens, listen live weekdays 10 to noon at writerradio.com. Episode 183 of Writer Radio continues. Brought to you by Brian Janik of thefinancialguys.com. I gotta tell you a story about something I did yesterday. Pretty proud of this. So, on Saturdays, I do UB football games. If you're listening to the show, you're probably aware of that. I'm a part of the broadcast, have been since 2008 with Paul Peck and Scott Wilson. And we had a very exciting finish on Saturday. The Bulls kicked a field goal, a 50-yard field goal, as time expired to tie the game and force overtime as regulation expired. Then the Bulls lost the toss. They got the ball first. And in college football, you get to go back and forth. So the Bulls score a touchdown. You start at the 25-yard line. At the positive 20, you have a 25-yard field. You've got to navigate. You get whatever you can get, and the other team gets what they can get. If it's still tied, we go on to the second, basically, inning of overtime, and it just keeps going from there. And the rules change as you progress through. First time is normal. Second time, if you score a touchdown, you got to go for two. And then by the time you get to the third round, it's just 2-point conversion at times. You trade back and forth until somebody wins. So the Bulls lose the toss, go on offense first, and score a touchdown and kick the extra point and now lead by 7. And then it's Eastern Michigan's chance with the football. And they score a touchdown. They decide to go for 2 to win the game. They've got one chance to try to punch it in and win. They attempt to go for a shovel pass. It slips out of the quarterback's hand. It's a fumble. It's recovered by the Bulls. Game over. Bulls win by 1. Scott Wilson was curious to know if he talked over Paul Peck on the final call of the game. He wasn't sure. So he sent me a text. I should just read directly from the phone. Hang on. This is better if I give you the exact words. There's no reason, to paraphrase. Okay. Scott says, we text a lot, so I got to find it. And my phone's acting stupid. All right, here we go. He says, I don't have access to our audio. If you have a chance, I'd love to hear our call of the final OT play. Could you clip it real quick and text or email it to me? And I said, yes, I'll do that now. I said, I'd just send you the password if I knew it, but it didn't give me an opportunity to see anything but dots. So this is one of those situations where I've had the same password for this account for, let's say, 5 years, something like that. I have no idea what it is, but I can get in. Scott can't get in, so I've got to get the audio for him. And then I said I had to email it instead of text, so it's at your Yahoo account. And I sent him this little clip. The subject line is Final Call Eastern Michigan EMU at UB. And the file is called 1024 EMU at UB. And so I sent it to him, and that was the label. Oh, come on, are you really? It's the first time in my life I've ever rickrolled anybody. And it was awesome. He wrote, "You got me. That was excellent." And I said, "Pretty good, huh?" I wrote it down as the open to my show as I hit send. I never even tried that before, but it was exhilarating. He said, "I have so much respect for what you just did." I was proud. I wrote back, "I'm proud of myself." So I sent him that, and then I sent him the actual highlight, too, because that would be mean to not do the thing that I offered to do. I just sent another email that said, "Take 2."
Quarterback runs a shovel pass, he fumbled, and the Bulls win! The Bulls come storming out on the field. A mistake by Eastern Michigan, an incomplete pass. Buffalo wins 31-30.
There was some question as to whether it was a fumble or an incomplete pass, but either way, it didn't matter. It ended up being ruled a fumble, which is more fun from a statistical standpoint. Kobe Stewart gets the, I guess he would probably get the forced fumble too, even though he didn't really force it, but then he recovered it. And the Bulls win on that play, but it is the first time the opportunity to rickroll somebody ever presented itself, and I went for it, and I'm proud of it. And Scott was proud of me for it too. That's all. It's just a quick little story, but that's what we do. Like in real life, I was about to do something. Like I had just finished hanging out at the computer doing show-related things, and I got up to do something else, and then I got the text from Scott. I was like, all right, back to the computer I go. And right away I did I had to do it. I had to do it. How could you not? Once you think of it, you got to do it. So yeah, I downloaded the song. I didn't even have the song. I downloaded the song. I changed the name of the song from Never Gonna Give You Up to 10-4-25 EMU at UB. And then I sent him Rick Astley by email. It was awesome. Plus the actual audio. And we talked about this play already today. All right, a couple things. One, this is the play I talked about where the player, Kobe Stewart, got the ball, took it over to his mom, and then Eastern Michigan came over to take the ball from him. Came from all the way on the other side of the field, or from her, rather. And eventually she gave it back, but I thought that was kind of garbage. But not the kind of garbage that having to give a ball back at an NFL game is, because that's junk, man. And that happened. That happened to the Milano guy that ran up the stairs. We had the Tirico call of it. Did I even play that? I know that I pulled it, and I have it here. I don't know that do I have that here? I know it exists. Because it was really good. But it's not in my That's not here. That's okay. We already talked about the play because that's one aspect. I already did that. The other point. Oh, Scott said the reason he wanted to hear it is because he wanted to know if he talked over Paul, and he's like, "Oh, I definitely did." He said it's just impossible for him to resist yelling out the word fumble when he's watching a football game, that he can't not do it. And I said, I'm the same way, except I just go, ball, ball, ball. I can't not. It just happens. It's involuntary. I see the ball, I say ball. But then I say it repeatedly. At least 3 times. It might be more, but it's usually ball, ball, ball. And you can hear Scott just go, fumble!
It's a snap. It's a quarterback run. It's a shovel pass. He fumbled, and the Bulls win. The Bulls come storming out on the field. A mistake by Eastern Michigan. An incomplete pass. Buffalo wins 31-30.
No real explanation for why the microphones and the crowd mic are crackling. Maybe the microphone was surprised by the sudden amount of noise at UB Stadium, which isn't usually the loudest place to see a game. But in that moment, there was a good crowd there, and that was a massive play. So right as Scott yells fumble, the crowd is yelling too, and the mic just starts. Let's do it again. Come on. I don't know why the computer's acting like this. It's like it's mad at me. It's like the computer is mad at me. All right, well, we don't have to do it again. We just did it 2 or 3 times. That's fine. Moving on. All right, what else do I have written down here? Oh, Bad Bunny. So this is fun. Bad Bunny is the performing artist at halftime of the Super Bowl. That was announced over the weekend. And, man, do people have thoughts on that? I opened up like 3 consecutive stories, like what Trump thinks, what Eric Dickerson thinks. I'm going to skip Trump and just go to ED. Eric Dickerson goes on fiery Bad Bunny rant after controversial Super Bowl halftime choice. NFL Hall of Famer Eric Dickerson urged Bad Bunny to, quote, keep his ass, unquote, away from the Super Bowl halftime show if he truly does not like the United States. The former, when did he say he didn't like the United States? The former Rams running back told the TMZ photographer outside of LAX on Monday that he heard some stuff, that was in quotes, the pop star had said about America, remarks he doesn't believe should be associated with the world's grandest sports stage. All right, you preach, ED. I'm from the U.S., Dickerson said. I love my country, and if you don't like the United States, just get your ass out of here and don't come here. When reminded that Bad Bunny is an American citizen by way of Puerto Rico, a U.S. territory, Dickerson moved the goalpost. He says, I know Puerto Rico is a part of the U.S. Did you? Did you know that? He said, but it's not the U.S. That's the way I look at it. That's the way I feel. Well, then who cares? Dickerson did not specify what stuff he had heard about Bad Bunny. However, President Trump and other Republican figures have also been highly critical of the choice. Bad Bunny, recently named number 1 on Billboard's top Latin artists of the 21st century, made headlines in September after revealing that his tour did not include stops in the continental U.S. over concerns of potential ICE raids at concert venues. He stirred the political pot while hosting the season premiere of SNL last week, quipping in his opening monologue that if his halftime show critics don't understand his native language, then they have 4 months to learn. Dickerson wasn't laughing. He said, if Bad Bunny said something about the U.S., don't come here and perform. You know, don't come here. Stay in your country, which is the United States. Close. You're right there. You're right there, ED. We get what you're trying for. You're just so close. Just missing by a little bit. Who's Johnson? Johnson also thinks, Mike Johnson. Speaker Mike Johnson. Speaker of the House Mike Johnson says Bad Bunny, quote, terrible decision for Super Bowl. Suggests Lee Greenwood. This is going to be the part where I check to see if Lee Greenwood's alive. Lee Greenwood, please don't. I mean, I'm not rooting against him being alive. I just think the story would be a lot funnier if he's not alive. He's alive. He's alive. He's born in 1942. Name 2, real quick. Name 2 Lee Greenwood songs. Oh, no one can. No one can name 2 Lee Lee Greenwood songs. But that's who Speaker Johnson thinks. All right, let's read the article instead of me just speculating on what he said. Where did that one go? Johnson. Where's the Johnson one? Bad Bunny. There we go. This is from thehill.com. Speaker Mike Johnson said Tuesday he thinks it was a, quote, terrible decision, unquote, for the NFL to tap Puerto Rican singer-songwriter Bad Bunny to headline the Super Bowl halftime show in February. I didn't even know who Bad Bunny was, but it sounds like a terrible decision in my view. Okay, well, I don't know who that is, but this sucks. Strong opinion. Very important. You don't always have to say something about everything. I don't know who he is, but this is terrible. Okay, sure thing. Johnson suggested a more suitable choice would have been Lee Greenwood, the country singer known for his patriotic anthem, God Bless the USA, which has remained a staple at political rallies for President Trump. It's also a staple at the laser light show at Darien Lake. Quote from Johnson, well, it sounds like he's not someone who appeals to a broader audience, Johnson said when asked to explain why he thinks the NFL made a bad choice. Why is the Speaker of the House commenting on the Super Bowl halftime show in October? Exactly. There are so many eyes on the Super Bowl, a lot of young, impressionable children, and I think, in my view, you would have Lee Greenwood or role models doing that, not somebody like this. Not some Mexican from Puerto Rico. I want an American. I made up that part, but you get the point, right? You can't be a Mexican from Puerto Rico. From Puerto Rico, you're American. But, you know, whatever. Bad Bunny, born Benito Antonio Martinez Ocasio, is one of the most popular and accomplished musicians in the world today. He ranks alongside Taylor Swift and country music standout Morgan Wallen as one of the industry's most streamed artists globally. His music is particularly popular in Spanish-speaking countries and among Spanish speakers in the United States, but his selection as a Super Bowl's headliner has sparked a fierce backlash among conservatives and Trump supporters who see the choice as the NFL trying to pick a fight with the president and MAGA Republicans. The recording artist has a history of speaking out against President Trump and has said he would not tour in the mainland U.S. over concerns his fans could be targeted by federal immigration enforcement. The Trump administration has threatened to send immigration and customs enforcement officers to the Super Bowl in California, and several leading MAGA figures have complained about Bad Bunny's political positions. You're arguing with what you think a guy who goes by Bad Bunny believes or is going to say or is saying in Spanish and you can't understand it. So there's like a code. It's like a code going on. He can say whatever he wants, but you don't get it. So he's probably talking about you. Here's from Politico. Trump blasts crazy NFL over Bad Bunny's Super Bowl halftime show. Quote, never heard of him, unquote, the president said of the Puerto Rican rapper and singer who's criticized his immigration policies. This is terrible. I don't know who he is. This is terrible. All right. President Donald Trump lambasted the NFL's decision. You know, I've always known that word is lambasted. Is it basted or basted? Because it really could go either way. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Moving on. No, it does matter. I got to look it up. This is the kind of stuff that bothers me. Because I've heard someone say lambasted before, but I like it as basted. Pronunciation. All right. What do you got? Play.
Lambasted.
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 People also ask, is it pronounced lambasted or lambasted? It's tough to write that out. Pronunciation stuff is tough to write out. How to pronounce it on YouTube. Is it lambast or lambased? There, that's the way to do it. Use lambased in American and Canadian English and lambast in other varieties of English. Both spellings mean to scold or berate severely. Both are correct. The lambased has predominated in American English and is the older form. So say lambased if you're from here. Say lambast if you talk like John Oliver. Okay, fair enough. All right, Lee Greenwood not dead. All right, Trump part. Bad Bunny, I already said that. Last month's Bad Bunny announcement ignited outrage in the MAGA world. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem warned ICE agents would be all over the Super Bowl, and conservative commenters branded Bad Bunny a Trump hater. Speaking to Newsmax's, there's a lot of those. Okay. Speaking to Newsmax's Greg Kelly late Monday, Trump said he had, quote, never heard of Bad Bunny. Quote, I don't know who he is. I don't know why they're doing it. It's like crazy, he said. Quote, they blame it on some promoter they hired to pick up entertainment. I think it's absolutely ridiculous. He then pivoted to criticize the league's kickoff rule, which he has long derided, saying it looks ridiculous. I'm over it. I'll tell you this about kickoffs right now in the NFL. I don't know what yard line they kick from. I don't know where the two teams line up. I don't know for sure what the landing zone is. I don't know what has to be returned and what can't be returned. Well, no, nothing can't be returned. Well, if it's out of bounds, I guess it can't be returned. But I don't. I'm doing just fine. I don't need to know the rules. There was a time when I would think I need to figure out what's going on here. And, when they change rules in college, I'm actually broadcasting those games. So it's important to have a better sense of what's going on out there. But just as a fan of the NFL, I've decided to ignore it. Like, every time they kick off, like, oh, yeah, that's right, they do this now. Whatever it is. I'm just waiting for the next play anyway. And if it's a kickoff return for a touchdown, that's fun. But I don't know. It's having zero impact on my life, the fact that they've changed the kickoff rules. But Trump's bothered by it. He's the president. He's bothered by kickoff rules. Bad Bunny, meanwhile, has appeared unfazed by the backlash, mocking his critics in a monologue in Spanish on SNL over the weekend. If you didn't understand what I just said, you have 4 months to learn, he said. The rapper and singer who endorsed Democratic candidate Kamala Harris ahead of the 2024 presidential election and is one of the most streamed artists in the world has excluded the U.S. from his upcoming world tour out of concern that immigration authorities might target his performances. Puerto Rico is an American territory. Bad Bunny is an American citizen. It's not the first time politics have collided with the halftime show. At Shakira and Jennifer Lopez's 2020 performance, Lopez wrapped herself in a Puerto Rican flag and freed children from glowing cages, a move that was interpreted as protesting the Trump administration's child separation policy. Oh, is that how it was interpreted? When she was letting kids out of cages? When all anyone was talking about was Trump putting children in cages? We're interpreting it that seemed against cages? Letting people out of cages? So, yeah. Okay. 2020. So you hear 2020 and you think doom and gloom, but that was the good part of 2020. 10 seconds before the world ended. That was February of 2020. Everything was fine in February of 2020. There was some rumors about what was going on in China. I remember my mom asking if we were prepared for this virus that was coming and going, ha, 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 Mom, stop watching the news. They're blowing this out of proportion. Our lives aren't going to be completely flipped over a month from now. That's crazy talk. We were talking about lightning at football games when Bob was on. And someone wrote in, Duke of Williamsville wrote in and said that there was one incident that he's aware of in 2014. Bucs-Packers game in Tampa, lightning in the parking lot, injured a bunch of people, no one in the stadium. So I found the story, December 21, 2014. Heather Boone was walking with her brother-in-law from Raymond James Stadium to her car after Sunday's game when she saw the skies darkening all around her. We could get hit by lightning, she joked. Moments later, she was on the ground and bleeding from her forehead. She was one of several fans injured when lightning struck the parking lot area north of the stadium where the Buccaneers hosted the Packers, only about 20 feet from her car when it happened. At just after 4 p.m. on Sunday, she was face down on the gravel in an instant and wondering what had happened. I felt like I got shot in the back, she told Yahoo Sports after walking out of St. Joseph's Hospital late on Sunday. Jason Penny of the Tampa Fire Department said 7 people were transported from the parking area to the hospital, and 4 or 5 others went on their own. The oldest victim, a man in his 70s, was worse off than the others, but according to Penny Conscious, there were no fatalities. Okay, so to our knowledge, this is how much lightning has impacted football. It blew up Lee Corso's car, his rental car, not even his real car, but his rental car in or outside of the stadium at Virginia Tech. And then it hit a parking lot outside of a stadium in so parking lots, 2 parking lots have been struck by lightning, yet college football is now delaying games when there's lightning anywhere within 8 miles of the stadium. 8 miles is far. Too much. It's too much. And again, this is relying on information acquired. I don't know. It's data. It's data. It's not common sense. So there are times and places for data, but I heard there was lightning 8 miles. I read on a screen there was lightning 7.5 miles from here. We can't play football for half an hour. Does not make sense. So I'm not saying I want lightning to strike a football game. I'm just saying lightning doesn't strike football games. And when it does, then let's stop letting people play near lightning. But for now, I think we're fine. You know when there's lightning. You know when to not go outside, right? Ooh, this is bad. I'm going to stay in the house. Like, when it's like that, don't play football. But you're in Orchard Park and you hear there's lightning in Tonawanda. And I don't know if that's probably more than 8 miles, but I would like to draw a perimeter around the stadium. All right. If I press tab, then enter to ask AI mode. All right, tab, enter. And it just takes me to Max Hairston injury. No, that's not what I'm looking for. Draw 8-mile perimeter around Highmark Stadium, Orchard Park. Map radius calculator. There we go. All right, map radius calculator. This should work if I know the address of the stadium. Is it just, if I type in 1 Bills Drive, is that going to work? 1 Bills Drive, Orchard Park, NY. There it is. All right. Radius miles, 8. Okay. Here we go. So, yeah, Tonawanda is too far. But 8 miles from the stadium takes you into Eden. It takes you into East Aurora. It takes you into the middle of Lake Erie. It takes you into West Seneca. It takes you into Sloan, like parts of Cheektowaga, parts of Elma. What is this? Transit Road and where are we? Clinton. It takes you basically to Clinton Street. Nope, beyond Clinton Street. Well beyond Clinton Street. Into Cheektowaga, Sloan, north of Broadway. South of Broadway, between William and Broadway. So if that meat market in Sloan has lightning overhead, the Bills can't play. If the NFL were using the same rules as college, I maybe should have used UB Stadium instead. I'll do that. Hang on. UB Stadium, Amherst, New York. Where is it? Oh, there it is. All right. Now draw a circle. 8 mile. Why won't it do it? Maybe I'm zoomed in too much. I know this is scintillating, but I think this is interesting. We're gonna worry. It's not gonna work. Clear all. Clear all. I must have had, maybe the old one was in there. Okay. UB Stadium, Amherst, New York. Radius miles, 8. There we go. So that same lightning strike that I talked about in Sloan that would prevent the Bills from playing if they observe the 8-mile rule would also prevent the Bulls from playing. That same meat market, it's at the tail end of one, or the bottom of the circle on one and the top of the circle on the other. So lightning in Sloan, which is nowhere near Amherst and also nowhere near Orchard Park, would prevent football from happening in either of those locations, and that's crazy talk. All right, I'm closing this. We're going to play a song. We'll be back. I've got 17 different things open. Hopefully most of them are not about Bad Bunny. Had enough Bad Bunny there. Oh, a couple comments here we'll get to. You live north of Genesee. We have lots of snow here in the winters. You're remembering West Seneca winters. Right, I'm remembering what West Seneca winters looked like when I was a kid and what they've looked like the entire time my children have been alive, and it's not the same thing. The snow pile in the parking lot's not there. It was a mainstay of winter when I was a kid, and it's not anymore. Just throwing that out there. once in a while you get dumped on. There's a storm. There'll be snow. But it was the whole winter. That's where I played. It was like a mountain range. Because there was like a little, it's not even a fence, just like one of those guardrail type of fence things along the side of the yard between the fire hall parking lot and my parents' house. And then the snow would, it would hit the parking lot, it would get plowed up, and then the plow would just keep pushing this, and it would just grow over the course of winter. That doesn't happen anymore. Got to play in the snow the whole time. It's not there anymore. Duke said, I'm not a Bad Bunny fan, but holy crap, Lee Greenwood, Mike Johnson, showing he really has his finger on the pulse of America. Yeah. Halftime show should be ASAP Rocky reenacting his Taylor Swift video all around the stadium. One of the greatest videos of all time. That's 100% true. That video is unbelievably good. The song is whatever. The video is amazing. ASAP Rocky, the S is a $. I recommend looking it up. Watch the video. Sit through the 3.5 minutes. It's some of the craziest stuff you'll ever see. Just awesome. Awesome video. ASAP Rocky. The song is called Taylor Swift. SWIFF. Because you can't call it Taylor Swift. Because then she'd know that you were talking about her. You can't do that. It's Writer Radio. I'm Brad. Play a couple songs. Be right back. Stick around. This portion of Writer Radio has been deleted for the podcast version. If you want to hear everything that happens, listen live weekdays 10 to noon at writerradio.com. So I'm not positive what happened. Everything froze for a few seconds, but it seems like we're good now. Maybe 30 seconds. It just, everything on my screen was frozen. There was no audio. There was no nothing. Just nothing was happening. So I turned the mic on and started talking, but I don't know if that came through. I don't know exactly what the situation is, but we appear to be fine and functioning well on both the Mixlr or MixLR stream and the YouTube stream. Both seem okay. So I thought we were going to have a massive problem because I could just do the show, just talk into a mic and not have anything on a screen in front of me. But the software is kind of what makes the broadcast happen. So not sure what happened. Was afraid the show was over, but it's not. So I'm just acting as if nothing happened, getting on with our lives. I was thinking more about the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, and his suggestion that instead of Bad Bunny, that Lee Greenwood should play the Super Bowl halftime show. Lee Greenwood was born in 1942, and the vast majority of his recent set lists have been one song long. I do know where he got the idea. His most recent performance was September 21st at the Charlie Kirk Memorial Service. State Farm Stadium, Glendale, Arizona. He played, see if you can guess. I'll give you a hint. He only played one song. Can you guess what it was? That's right. It was God Bless the USA. He did perform, it appears, a full concert on August 24th at something called Bands, Brew, and Barbecue at Nautilus Theater in Orlando, Florida. Could you imagine going to see Lee Greenwood in concert and he plays 20 songs? Like, this to me seems like the perfect scenario. I don't know if this is actually true, but my friend Sean has always said it's true, that at some point he saw ZZ Top live, and they both opened and closed with Got Me Under Pressure. I don't know if that really happened. I don't know if that's a figment of his imagination, if it's a dream he had, if it's real. But for 30 years, 30 plus, 35, 40 years, I have believed that I believed at least that Sean believes that has happened, that happened. That ZZ Top played in Buffalo. I could probably look this up too. That they played in Buffalo and both opened and closed with the same song, which is probably their best song. It's among their best songs. I get why you might want to play it twice, but that seemed weird to me. This is the perfect situation. If Lee Greenwood is playing 20 songs, if I paid to see Lee Greenwood, he'd better play God Bless the USA first and last. And do whatever you want in between. I want to read you this set list. Like, I feel like if I read you the first 19 songs on this set list, despite the fact that you've never heard of one of them, or at least you've never heard of one that you would associate with this particular artist, I still think you might get it. I mean, you'd get that it's country. You'd get that there are flags. All right, here's the set. I'm going to read you a 20-song set list from Lee Greenwood. Imagine sitting through 19 songs before they get to the one that you know. Bob Gaughan talked last week about going to see David Byrne and how he knew one of the first 15 songs and they knew 4 of the last 5 or something like that. His wife knew all or most of them, but he's not as big a fan. He still liked it, but he didn't know the songs. Listen to this. Lee Greenwood's got one song, man. He's got one song that was released and was kind of a hit, and then I'll look it up. I don't want to screw up the story, but it was released and then it was re-released, and now it's 2025, and that's still his song. 9/11 obviously played a major role in its revival. Here are the songs. Between a Rock and a Heartache. 2, Ain't No Trick, It Takes Magic. 3, We've Got It Made. 4, Ring on Her Finger, Time on Her Hands. 5, Dixie Road. 6, Please Come to Boston. That's a cover. Please come to Boston. No, wait. And I'll meet you at the station. Is that right? Please come to Boston. All right, next is Rocky Top. Sure. Why not? You're in Florida. You should sing the Tennessee football fight song. 8, I Don't Mind the Thorns. 9, You've Got a Good Love Coming. 10, Tequila, which is a cover. Pee Wee Herman. 11, I Owe You. I remember that song. I owe you the something and the something. All right, so 11 songs in, he plays one I've heard of. I remember that one. Early 80s, probably. It was in that kind of trucker CB radio era of music, like late 70s, early 80s, where everything, everyone sounded like Eddie Rabbitt. Eddie Rabbitt was a big deal. He loved A Rainy Night. Like Lee Greenwood, I associate it with that era. I'd have to look it up. I could look it up. Why don't I just look it up? I'm right here. I've got a computer right in front of me. All right, Lee Greenwood, I Owe You, Wikipedia. Does it have its own Wikipedia page? Is that song? It does. That song has its own Wikipedia page. I had a Wikipedia page once, and then I was deleted for irrelevance. Sucks. I Owe You, song written by Kerry Chater and Austin Roberts, recorded by Lee Greenwood, released in March of 83. All right. Yes, I do remember. I owe you the something and the something. I owe you. I'm going to look it up. I owe you lyrics. Greenwood. I owe you the sunlight in the morning and the nights of honest loving that time can't take away. And I owe you more than life now, more than ever. I know that it's the sweetest debt I'll ever have to pay. Yep, I owe you the sunlight in the morning. Okay, I got that one. All right, so we're 11 songs in. And I'm like, oh, crap, look at that. Lee Greenwood busted out a hit from 83. He then played number 12, Hearts Aren't Made to Break, parentheses, they're made to love, parentheses. The next song is called Touch, and it's all capitalized, Touch, in all caps. Number 14 is It Turns Me Inside Out. Number 15 is She's Lying. Oh, boy. 16, Holding a Good Hand. 17, The Wind Beneath My Wings. It says Roger Whittaker cover. Is the Bette Midler song not real, or are these two different things? Wind Beneath My Wings. Wikipedia. Wind Beneath My Wings, sometimes titled as The Wind Beneath My Wings, and Hero, is written by two guys I never heard of, Jeff Silbar and Larry Henley in 1982. It was first recorded by Australian singer Kamal in 1982. He talked about being the first to record the song in an appearance on an Australian TV show, but stated it was not commercially released because it was felt he did not suit the country and Western style. Instead, Roger Whittaker recorded the song, as well as Sheena Easton and Lee Greenwood. The song appeared shortly thereafter in charted versions by Colleen Hewitt, Lou Rawls, Gladys Knight and the Pips, and Gary Morris. All four of those came out and charted between 1982 and 1983. The highest charting version of the song to date was recorded in 1988 by Bette Midler for the soundtrack to the film Beaches. That's the one we know. That's the one we think about. That's the one I think about. This song, several years earlier, Henley had written a poem with the same title for his ex-wife. One day, when the two men sat down to write a song for Bob Seger, Silbar saw that Henley had written that title on his legal pad and was inspired by those words to write the song. Apart from the title, the song did not incorporate any of the text of the original poem. Henley wrote the lyrics. Silbar wrote the music. They did a demo, went to Bob Mock. All right, so they're calling it a Roger Whittaker cover, but it's a everybody cover, and it's a Bette Midler cover, and that song's 17. If you go to see Lee Greenwood, if you went to see Lee Greenwood August 24th at Nautilus Theater in Orlando, Florida, you are now 17 songs in. He's played one song I know, plus Wind Beneath My Wings, and Tequila and Rocky Top. It is not a surprise that the 18th song is called Statue of Liberty, which is also a cover. Number 19, Where the Stars and Stripes and the Eagle Fly. That sounds like AI. It's like if you asked AI to write a song for Lee Greenwood, it would call it Where the Stars and Stripes and the Eagle Fly. That's also a cover of an Aaron Tippin song. I don't know who Aaron Tippin is. And then 20th, you have to sit through 19 songs before you get to the one that you're there for, which is not a good song, but if you went to see Lee Greenwood, you like this song. You wouldn't go see Lee Greenwood if you don't like God Bless the USA. Is there anyone who's like, I like him, just not that song. I'm into the deeper cuts? Probably. There's somebody that's into everything. Love in an Elevator is someone's favorite song. That's always bothered me. I don't even think it's a terrible song. It's a kind of a stupid, silly song. But just thinking about the fact that there's somebody out there, it might be that Aerosmith is their favorite band, but I can't imagine if you're an Aerosmith fan, like a psycho Aerosmith fan, that your favorite song would be Love in an Elevator. So it's probably not. It's just somebody who doesn't even know it's Aerosmith, but they love that song. Maybe. This is the kind of stuff that's in my head. I deal with this all the time. 50 years walking around with this kind of brain. It sucks. I hear Love in an Elevator, and all I can picture is somebody somewhere going, God, I love this song. Isn't this the best? So if you go see Lee Greenwood, I'm going to assume you want to hear God Bless the USA, and you got to sit through 19 songs just to get to it. So no, Mike Johnson, I don't think he'd be a really great idea for the Super Bowl halftime show. Just throwing that out there. All right, I'm done with that. I didn't even mention who is the Super Bowl halftime show. I said I didn't want to dwell on him anymore. I don't know a lot about Bad Bunny. I'm going to look into him. Bad Bunny holds a place for me like Bruno Mars did at one point in my brain. It doesn't mean I'm right. But in my head, for a while, I knew there was a thing called Bruno Mars. I didn't know if that was a guy or a band I think I confused it with Mars Volta, and I think I confused it with whatever band that I'm going to screw this up. There's an actor in a band. Jared Leto. Jared Leto. What's the name of Jared Leto's band? That might be I don't know. I'm going to check that out now. All right. Stick with me. This is just me. This is what my brain does. Jared Leto band name. 30 Seconds to Mars. Okay. There we go. So 30 Seconds to Mars, Mars Volta, Bruno Mars. We're all the same thing to me. All of them might contain Jared Leto. Or Leto. And then eventually, Bruno Mars came to be, to me, the guy who wears shiny things and kills it every time he's on an award show. So while I was blending together Jared Leto and Mars Volta and 30 Seconds to Mars and Bruno Mars, all as one, who knows what it is thing, Bruno Mars eventually separated himself by just being an awesome live performer. His performances are reminiscent of, James Brown type of stuff on stage. Just always flashy. If you get a chance, check out, he did the song Runaway Baby on X Factor. That was one of the things that got me. Not that I even watched X Factor, but somehow that video got to me. I was like, oh, this guy's cool. And a couple of Grammy appearances, the Oscars, the Emmys, I don't know what, SNL, but just maybe 3 times. It's like, okay, this is real. It's not just a good song. This is an artist that is interesting. Like, I would go see Bruno Mars in concert. He was here and I didn't go, but I would. I didn't. I'm not dying to, but I would definitely. If we're rolling into, I don't know, where are we going this year? UMass. We're going to Amherst, Massachusetts next week. The Bulls have this weekend off. If we were rolling in and Bruno Mars was playing in Boston, I would encourage our group to take the 2-hour trek to go see Bruno Mars. I would do that. That's what Bad Bunny is to me right now. Bad Bunny is a name I'd heard. And again, what is Bad Bunny? Is that a group? Now I know who he is. But a couple years ago, as I started hearing his name, it was like, okay, there's something out there called Bad Bunny. I have no positive or negative anything. Just that's an artist that I'm not familiar with. But a couple times now, there's been a Bad Bunny performance somewhere on television. The SNL, maybe it was the SNL music special in conjunction with the 50th anniversary that was earlier this year. It might have been there. It might have been on, again, an award show, something like that. But I've now got, 2 or 3 times that I've seen a live performance from Bad Bunny. And while I haven't sought out any of his music, I couldn't name a single song. I came away with like, oh, I get why that's a popular person. That was an impressive performance. That was a good show. So I think he'll put on a good show, even if you don't know the songs. And I can appreciate music that doesn't even have lyrics. I don't need singing. I mean, I like Fish a lot. And they'll play for 4 hours and sing in 3 of their songs. It's hardly, there's not a lot of singing. Sometimes there is, sometimes there isn't. But I don't need singing to enjoy music. So I certainly don't need to understand the lyrics to enjoy music. And this guy has left an impression on me as like a good performer. I just don't know the songs. So I'm kind of cool with it. It's better than Usher. Who wanted Usher? One of the most iconic performers in the world. That's a running joke in my house with my now 11-year-old. That was from, 2 years ago? So he was like 8 or 9. And he's like, Dad, is Usher one of the most iconic performers in the world? I was like, no, not at all. Usher's got a song called Yeah, where he says, yeah. That's his song. That's his iconic song. It's called Yeah. So no, that to me did not have the makings of a killer Super Bowl halftime show. Usher, not iconic. Bad Bunny, I'm in. I'll check it out. I'll watch it. Okay, what else is on my thing? Oh, we were talking about weather, and Bob was talking about climate change and how it's actually kind of better for Buffalo because it's cold here. And, yeah, I'm with him on some of that. And then we started talking about snow. And he said something about the lack of hurricanes this year. So I just Googled hurricanes this year. And the first thing that comes up is got to watch out for Jerry. Tropical storm Jerry, this is current. This is today. Churning over the central Atlantic, likely to become a hurricane. Maps show its projected path. It's coming for Toronto. No, I'm just kidding. There's not a hurricane coming to Toronto. That'd be weird, right? Continued to churn early Wednesday over tropical waters of the central Atlantic Ocean, the Miami-based National Hurricane Center said, a day after it formed. Oh, my. Just formed. Just started getting the band together on Tuesday, and it's churning. Wednesday, still churning. The new system, the 10th named storm of the 2025 Atlantic hurricane season, was far from land. The Hurricane Center said Jerry was some 890 miles east-southeast of the northern Leeward Islands, the Caribbean chain east of Puerto Rico that starts with the Virgin Islands and extends down to Guadalupe. I didn't know Guadalupe was I would have guessed Mexican City, Guadalupe. But is that a country? We're going to find out. Or is that an island? We're just learning things together today, ladies and gentlemen. Mostly gentlemen. And like Patty, my mom. That's it. Guadalupe. All right, you want to know what Guadalupe is? Take a guess. I want you to guess what Guadalupe is. Don't pretend I'm the idiot who doesn't know Guadalupe. You don't know Guadalupe, do you? Didn't think so. It's a French former colony now designed as both an overseas department and region of the French Republic in the Caribbean. Consists of 6 inhabited islands. I'm going to mess up I don't speak French. They all have names. I'm not going to try this. That's just going to be me sounding stupid for 30 seconds trying to pronounce the names of 5 islands. I'm probably not even saying Guadalupe correctly. Capital city is the same as one of the islands. I'm not going to pronounce that. It's on the southern west coast of that island. The most populous city is another one. I'm not saying any of this stuff. I'm still not totally clear if that's a country or what it is. It's a French former colony, now designed as both an overseas department and region of the French Republic in the Caribbean. We got a language, ethnic groups. The languages are Guadeloupean Creole, another Creole, and French. All right, so it's a French territory in the Caribbean. I'll stop there. That's enough. But it's spelled Guadalupe, L-O-U-P-E. And then you can click on this for other uses. See Guadalupe, that's just L-U-P-E. Let me click on that one. Nothing happened. It's just a different spelling. Okay, that's all it is. Different spelling. Guadalupe is a region. Jerry, that's the hurricane, well, the storm, tropical storm Jerry. Which, are you picturing Jerry? It's spelled with a J. I'm picturing Jerry Sullivan as a potential hurricane. Jerry had maximum sustained winds of 50 miles per hour as it hurried west-northwest at 23 miles per hour across the open ocean, according to forecasters. It was expected to strengthen and become a hurricane on Thursday. That's today. No, that's tomorrow. Sorry. I screwed that up once already. I already thought it was Thursday when I started reading this. Okay. It's fine. Bear with me. Again. This is how my brain works. I apologize. You're just getting it raw, man. This is live. This is how live works. I was expected to strengthen and become a hurricane Thursday, meaning it would have minimum sustained winds of 74 miles an hour. Map shows Jerry's path. Forecast to be near or north of the northern Leeward Islands Thursday and Friday. It wasn't posing any threats to southern Florida. On Thursday and early Friday, 2 to 4 inches of rain are expected across those islands. This rainfall brings a risk of flash flooding, especially in areas of higher terrain. In addition, the center noted Jerry-generated swells are expected to reach the Leeward and Windward Islands on Thursday. Yeah, I would expect them to reach the Windward Islands. I mean, you just got to roll with what you get. You're like, where do you live? Windward Islands? Aren't there hurricanes there? Yes. Yes, there are. These swells are likely to cause life-threatening surf and rip current conditions. Well, that's no good. Jerry developed on the heels of several Atlantic storms, including Hurricane Humberto and Hurricane Imelda, which emerged at the end of September. Concerns that both could strike Bermuda briefly circulated, but only Imelda ultimately brushed the coast of the island as a Category 2 hurricane before quickly weakening on its way out to the open ocean. You ever think about how big the ocean is? I was thinking about it when I was, this is stupid, but I was in Dunkirk, and we were looking at Lake Erie. There was a baseball game, and we were there an hour early, and so we just wandered over. It was right by the lake, so we walked over to the lake, and I'm standing at the edge of the lake looking out, and I can't see anything on the other side of the lake. So I can't see Canada. I can't see Buffalo. I can't see Ohio. It's nothing. It's just endless water from where I'm standing in Dunkirk. And I thought about how tiny and stupid Lake Erie is. It's like it's nothing. Think of the ocean. Think of how vast the stupid ocean is. I know you know this. This is not a revolutionary thought. Just saying, when I'm looking at Lake Erie knowing it's nothing, and it appears to be vast and endless, it made me ponder the size of, like, the Pacific. I'll be honest, I thought of the Atlantic first because it's closer. But you know what I mean? It's a lot of water, man. It's a lot of water. Baseball update. All these playoff series are still going. I'm excited that our boy is going again tonight. Cam Schlittler, who burst on the scene last week with that ridiculous 8-inning, 12-strikeout, no walk, was it 5-hit performance, is back. The Yankees, thanks to Aaron Judge's 3-run home run, were able to get themselves back in this series and trail now 2-1 to Toronto after getting just destroyed over the weekend. 10-1, 13-7. And then yesterday was the good one for the Yankees as they get back in it with a 9-6 win. The Blue Jays lead the series 2-1. All 4 series are in action today. 3:08 p.m. We've got the Mariners at the Tigers. That one is 2-1 Seattle. The Brewers lead the Cubs 2-0. They'll be at Wrigley 5:08 today. The late game is Phillies at Dodgers. Dodgers up 2-0 in that series with Yamamoto on the mound tonight. So that's going to be a problem for Philly. Sorry, John Fuller. I believe his quote yesterday was, "I hate this team." It's his favorite team, but he hates this team because it's always the same. Stars don't come through. Woe is John. All right, and then the Yankees game tonight at home against the Blue Jays. Toronto leads the series 2-1, but Cam Schlittler back on the mound, and that's must-see to me. I mean, I just met him last week like the rest of you. I didn't really meet him, but you know what I mean? And like in life, I didn't know he existed. And then I saw a story about some guy who grew up a Red Sox fan and had to convince his whole family to root for the Yankees, even though he's, they're all born and bred Boston people. He's from Walpole, Mass. And I read that and it didn't occur to me that this was the starting pitcher that night. But I read that story. I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. And then he started, and then he was, to me, the story of the postseason so far. That game was incredible. So 7:08 tonight. Blue Jays at Yankees. It's Varland on the mound for the Jays and Schlittler for the Yankees. And I don't typically root for the Yankees, but I root for pitching, man. I love exciting young pitchers. I love, like when Felix Hernandez burst on the scene in Seattle, you couldn't get me to miss a Mariners game. I had the baseball package at the time. I don't have it right now, so but we're in the playoffs, and so every game is on, and I absolutely will tune into that to see what Schlittler does to follow up on his ridiculously good performance last week. LeBron James is being criticized. So back in 2010, was it 2010, when he had the decision? It was a press conference. Jim Gray it wasn't even a press conference. It was just a TV show. It was a televised event where he announced he was taking his talents to Miami, and people got super mad at him. People in Cleveland were burning jerseys and all that stuff. Well, he had a social media post on Monday talking about how on Tuesday at noon he was making the decision of all decisions. So it's a reference to the decision thing that happened in 2010, 15 years ago, that still is kind of the main black mark on his resume, right? He's been in the league like 23 years. And while there's debate, like, is he the greatest player of all time? That's a conversation that is had. There's almost no debate that was a disaster. It was just the first in a long line, or a defining moment in the long line of, hey, look at me, athletes. Like the selfishness that we perceive, the me first, non-team player image, brand, my brand. Like that was his brand. For a while, his brand was the guy who walked out on his hometown team and had a television event based around quitting on his team. People were so mad. And then he ended up coming back, and they were very excited. And then they won a title, and they liked that, and then it was okay for him to leave again. But once he puts decision in these posts, people are like, oh, no, what, is he retiring? Is he trying to get away from the Lakers? Is he demanding a trade? Is he, who knows, right? It was just a Hennessy ad. LeBron James pulled a big fake out on his fans, and brand experts are split as to whether it was a good move. I'm going to say in advance, before I even go through this, I think it's a great move. How do you get, not that I'm the be-all, end-all of spreading the word for Hennessy, but how do you get some guy in Buffalo, New York to talk about Hennessy? If you get LeBron James to endorse Hennessy, I don't care at all. But if you can create an uproar by pretending it's something it isn't, and then get people talking about it, that's a success. So I would say whoever came up with it, they've got to be pleased. Like, they got what they wanted out of it. I don't know that it plays super well for James, because now he just seems kind of like a shill more than a player. Like, he made it, hey, everybody, I've got something important I want to say about basketball. That was the implication. And you're like, all right, LeBron, what is it now? What is it now that you'd like to say about basketball? And he's like, I like cognac. Specifically, Hennessy. It doesn't look great for him, but from Hennessy's perspective, they nailed it. He didn't announce his retirement from basketball or request a trade from the Lakers, as some fans had speculated. Instead, the future Hall of Famer launched an ad campaign with cognac brand Hennessy. While some social media commentators found the marketing stunt amusing, many were annoyed. Oh, you don't say. Something happened and half the people liked it and half the people didn't? In America? No way. Yeah, it happened. This happened. Believe it or not. Some branding experts who Business Insider spoke with were also unimpressed, calling the announcement anticlimactic and a rug pull. Head of PR at a firm called Rosica Communications is Chris Rosica. You wouldn't expect this kind of move from LeBron, from someone who's demonstrated so much professionalism. It's not certainly a highlight of his professional career. It's a letdown. However, other brand consultants said Hennessy's ad is a hit because it sparked conversations in a crowded media landscape. 100%. I'm on that side. A Hennessy spokesperson referred Business Insider to a press release when asked for comments. Clutch Sports, the agency that represents LeBron, didn't respond to a request for comment. James is both a basketball legend and a business mogul. He's won 4 NBA championships, 4 MVPs in 22 seasons. All right, so 22. He's going into year 23. Has a $1 billion net worth. Says, given that success, some branding gurus, it's a weird word, isn't it? Gurus, were perplexed by James' decision to set up such a big tease for a publicity stunt, which they're calling trolling. Scott Harkey is the founder of this and CEO of ad agency OH Partners. He questioned why he'd reference his heavily criticized 2010 free agency decision. This is a pretty good quote. The decision wasn't a good event. It was a cultural event that was made fun of. If you made a bad movie, typically you don't have a sequel. I don't need to keep reading this. I like it. Well, I'll read this part at the bottom. There's a little sub-headline that says, outrage is still attention. Independent brand consultant Jason Brown said Hennessy's ad stunt was, quote, not overly surprising and emblematic of, quote, modern-day marketing. We're all looking for new and interesting ways to engage audiences. Mark Patrikoff runs athlete-focused investment advisory platform Patrikoff Co. He said the companies are leveraging megastar athletes like James in a fragmented media landscape. Buying 30-second spots on TV isn't as effective as it used to be, so you have to be creative. Speaking of 30-second ads on TV, what's up with those schizophrenia drug commercials that have been popping up during football games? There was one on Prime the other day. The Thursday night game is on Prime. And I watched it. I had it. Well, again, I text a lot with Scott, especially during sporting events. And Scott just asked, like, who decided to do this? Like, who at the drug company decided to use Amazon Prime Football as a place to advertise drugs for schizophrenia? And my thought wasn't even that. My thought was, who's watching a football game and thinks, yeah, I've got schizophrenia. I'm going to ask my doctor about this drug. Like, this is one of those things where it doesn't seem like you need to advertise at all, except to doctors. Because who does their own research on schizophrenia drugs? Schizophrenics? I guess I'd have to look up what that word actually means, because I know I confuse it with like multiple personality disorder. But it just seems to me like, let the doctors handle the drug thing. And this applies a lot with the drug commercials. I wonder, like, ask your doctor about that. Like, no, I don't ask my doctor about drugs. I ask my doctor what drugs he would recommend. Right? Isn't that? We can't just do that? I don't know. Schizophrenia definition. Chronic mental health condition characterized by a persistent and pervasive loss of contact with reality, typically defined by a combination of symptoms including delusions, hallucinations, disorganized thinking and speech, grossly disorganized or catatonic behavior, negative symptoms, reduced emotional expression, lack of motivation, social withdrawal. These systems? Good God, man. These symptoms must persist for at least 6 months to meet the diagnostic criteria for schizophrenia. It's important to note that not all individuals with schizophrenia will experience all of these symptoms, and the severity and presentation of symptoms can vary widely. Schizophrenia drug commercial. Fan Apt 2025. Is this it? I think I could play a commercial, right? Where's the audio? Oh, I got to turn it up over here. This is a cartoon commercial. Yeah, this is the one. This is the one I saw. All right. This is just on during football.
Fanapt allopurinol is approved for adults with bipolar 1 disorder with acute mixed or manic episodes. Unlike some drugs for bipolar 1 disorder, nausea, vomiting, and restlessness are not common with Fanapt. Fanapt may be associated with serious side effects. Elderly patients with dementia-related psychosis treated with antipsychotics are at increased risk of stroke or death. Fanapt is not approved for elderly with dementia-related psychosis. Fanapt prolongs the QT interval and may be associated with abnormal heart rhythm or sudden death. In 5% or more of people in clinical trials, heart rate increases, dizziness, hypotension, weight gain, dry mouth, stuffy nose, sleepiness, and increases in liver enzymes have been observed. These are not all the side effects. Talk to your prescriber and learn more at fanapt.com. By Vanda Pharmaceuticals.
And then it just went right back to football. Then it's just back to Al Michaels and Kirk Herbstreit. Like, what the hell is that? And I'm not alone, because I look in the comments on YouTube. The second one says, this is from 8 months ago, but it's so funny that this is the first time an ad ever made me look something up, but it was mostly because I was so shocked over seeing this on the news channel. Like, I hate medical ads, but I did need to show my friends whatever was going on here. Another comment. It was such an out-of-body experience randomly seeing this on TV. Elderly medicine is the last thing I expect to get an anime commercial. I forgot to mention, the commercial is like anime style. And I don't know. I feel like the one that I saw didn't have the noticeably non-native English speaker in it. I think there's probably a modified version because that made it seem even weirder. Other people reacted the same way. I saw this at Planet Fitness and immediately looked it up. I don't think I've ever seen an anime ad in the U.S. before. Kind of surprising. If you went back in time to 1995 and told an anime fan that the medium would become so mainstream that pharmaceutical companies would use the art style for commercials, they would have thought you were insane. I immediately went to YouTube upon seeing this on TV. What genius decided that it made sense to have a narrator with an accent so thick that the ad required English subtitles? This was insane seeing on TV. All right. I lived in Sweden for 6 years. That accent is very specific. And then somebody wrote, really? I thought it was Asian, especially with those large eyes on the characters. My daughter is a graphic artist, but her forte is anime. She's truly an amazing anime artist. I'm 72, and when I saw this commercial, I thought it was so awesome. The artwork, the storyline, and because of my daughter, I noticed the little subtle details that are used in anime. The bead of water that appears in her hair twice. The fuzzies that appear in front of the woman's face who walks into the store. The light that flashes across the keys, and the art style when she's surprised that she can't find her keys again. And again, when she realizes her boyfriend is in front of her. I'm a musician, so I've always been open to new things. Still pretty square because I'm probably explaining everything wrong. And my daughter would be like, no, Dad, don't do this. LOL. We're really close and love each other a ton. I love this commercial. It's amazing art, and I always pay attention when it comes on. I've never had a favorite commercial before. LOL. Somebody else writes, twist. This isn't a drug commercial. It's a coming attraction of a new anime about a woman who is bipolar, and the show is about her fight against bipolarism. The focal point of the show picks up when she starts taking the fictional drug Fanapt, which is a play on fan adaptation. It's from a little-known... I'm going to stop with this. Bottom line, I think that was weird. I think it's weird. That's the whole story is I think it's weird that there are commercials for drugs that combat schizophrenia that are airing during Thursday Night Football on Amazon Prime. What time is it? Oh, it's 12:01. Should I just quit? Because I didn't. The Bills lost, so they're not number one in the power rankings anymore. The Eagles also lost. It was generally we were seeing Eagles-Bills or Bills-Eagles on most of these power ranking things, but I'm looking at ESPN right now, and because the Bills lost most recently and the Eagles lost most recently, they are leapfrogged by the 4-1 Lions. So ESPN's got 4-1 Lions first, 4-1 Bills second, 4-1 Eagles third, 4-1 Bucks, fourth. 4-1 Colts, fifth. 4-1 Niners, sixth. And then we go to the 2-1 Packers, the 3-2 Rams, the 3-2 Broncos, the 2-3 Chiefs at 10. Okay. 3-2 Seahawks, 4-1 Jaguars. They're 4-1 and they're 12th. 2-1 is 4 slots ahead, 5 slots ahead of the 4-1. I'd be mad. I'm a Jaguars fan. Great win, by the way. That was awesome. I went upstairs and maybe I told this story already. But I turned the game on and the winning touchdown had just happened. There was still, 16 seconds left and the Chiefs got the ball and it ended up turning into nothing and the game ended. But last I knew, prior to that, it was 14-0 Chiefs. I was like, oh, man, I'm just thinking about how far away in the distance the Chiefs looked when the Bills were 4-0 and the Chiefs were 2-2, and you know that they're still going to play them. So that, to me, it's 3 games up on the Chiefs. I mean, it's not, but it's 2 games for real, and then you get to play them, and I feel good about the Chiefs coming in here in a few weeks. So it was 14-0, and I just walked away. My son was watching the game in his room. I was like, oh, that's bad, and then just forgot about it. I was like, well, all right. So the Bills are really going to be 1 game ahead of the Chiefs? That's not enough at all. This stinks. And then miraculously, Jacksonville comes back and wins the game on one of the stupidest looking one-yard runs of all time. Trevor Lawrence gets the ball. He falls down. He tries to get up. He falls again. He gets up. He gets away from everything. He's trying to throw a pass. And he's like, screw it. I'll just dive. And he does. And he gets the touchdown. And the Jaguars win. And they're 4-1. And ESPN says that's good enough to be the 12th best team in the league, behind a 3-2, a 2-3, a 3-2, a 3-2, and a 2-1. All the other 4-1 teams are right up top. Steelers 3-1 at 13. 14, it's the Commanders at 3-2. Chargers at 3-2. Vikings at 3-2. Patriots at 3-2. And we can stop there. I don't think there are any more 3-2s that are going to pop up. So the teams with the winning records, that's where we are. Plus the Chiefs, who have a losing record and still are at number 10. In those power rankings. That's ESPN's version. The NFL version I haven't looked at yet, but I have open on the screen. Headline: Lions leapfrog Bills and Eagles to claim number 1 spot. Chargers keep falling. 1 Lions, 2 Eagles, 3 Bills. Let's see what it says about the Bills. I meant to read what it said about the Bills on the other one too, and I forgot. Sorry. And I closed it, so it's not coming back. I apologize. You're just going to have to get over it. Bills at number 3, down 1 spot from number 2. Having seen the Eagles lose earlier in the day, the Bills knew they had a chance to ascend to the pinnacle of our rankings. Likely talked about it in pregame too. But alas, playing with their food, something the Bills began to do against Miami and New Orleans, finally cost them. Can I just throw this in there? That's one of those phrases that, while it makes sense, I hate that I've never heard it. And then I heard it once and went, oh, that's pretty cool. It's good little invention, good little turn of phrase. And now it's like the 10th time I've heard it in 2 weeks about the Bills, that they play with their food. Maybe it's a takeoff on everybody eats. Maybe it's that. But I don't like when that happens. I don't like the first time I heard walk-off home run, I thought that was interesting. And then within a month, that was a built-in phrase. Like, that phrase did not exist before 98-ish. 97 did not exist, to my knowledge. I had never heard it. And then I heard it once, and then I heard it again the next day, and now I've heard it every day since. They're just out of nowhere, boom, this is a part of the lexicon. So, yeah, the Bills play with their food. 2 first-quarter fumbles and a rough Josh Allen interception ended up being quite harmful as the Patriots converted those turnovers into 10 points. Bills took a third-quarter lead, lost it, then tied up the game late. But Allen's 3 incomplete passes after cruising into New England territory on that game-tying drive really hurt. The defense couldn't stop Stephon Diggs in his return to Highmark, and Drake May stung the home team late. It was a grounding loss for a team with big dreams. They do have big dreams. Have you heard the nearly unanimous take that Baker Mayfield is the current MVP favorite? That's another one, too. Just hadn't thought of it. I'm not saying he's not. I haven't watched them a ton, but I've heard they're great. I've heard they're super fun to watch. People are really into their games. They're crazy. All their games are one-score games, but they're 4-1. Like, I get it. And Baker Mayfield is super fun. They've got them 4th here. Is Baker Mayfield an MVP favorite? See? He may not be in the eyes of the general public, but I hereby endorse Mayfield's campaign after his finest showing this season and yet another dramatic hold-on-to-your-butts victory, this one on the road against a good Seahawks team. This is a trivia question I asked my kids the other day. Name 2 movies in which the phrase, hold on to your butts, exists. 2 movies that they've seen. 2 movies that you've probably seen. Are you ready? If you've got kids, you've seen. Everyone's seen Jurassic Park, so there's that one. Right? I've seen Jurassic Park several times. It's a dinosaur movie that Brad has seen. That's got to be universal, right? Everybody's seen Jurassic Park. And the other one's a Lego movie, which clearly they're referencing Jurassic Park when they say it, but pretty good. Pretty good trivia question for 13, 11, and 8-year-old. Oh, 9. Sorry, Drew's 9 today. Happy birthday, Drew. He's not listening. He's at school. Actually, he's not at school. He's on a field trip. How about that? How about getting a field trip on your birthday? Isn't that sweet? Back to the Mayfield. Oh, I have to sneeze now. I'm sorry. Hang on. I'll turn the mic off. All right. I'm back. Sorry. You got to watch me sneeze on YouTube. Was it all you hoped it would be? It was a hold-on-to-your-butts victory on the road against a good Seahawks team. That the Buccaneers won without several key offensive contributors makes it even more impressive. Emeka Ibuka carried a massive share of the load. Rachaad White was big in place of the injured Bucky Irving. How many teams do you think you could have a guy playing for it where he's got the same name as the team? Obviously, the Bills. You could have a bunch of dudes named Bill playing for the Bills. But Bucky plays for the Bucks. I think that's nice. When they drafted, they're like, we're getting this guy. He's got our name. We got to take him. It's actually Bucky is short for Buccaneer. It's Buccaneer Irving. Don't repeat that. I made that up. That's not a real thing. Oh, I learned something really important today. That they have a guy named Buccaneer. I made that up. I made it up. Don't believe me. Don't believe the things I say. Some of them are jokes. Lots of them are jokes. Don't repeat that. You know, a guy named Buccaneer Irving. I don't think. Maybe it is. Maybe. Buckingham Irving. I'm guessing it's just a nickname. All right, we're looking it up. This is what we're doing. Sorry. Bucky Irving, real name. Buccaneer. No, I'm just kidding. Marquise with a slash and an apostrophe? Oh, my Lord. That's a bad one. No. It's just an apostrophe. Okay. It was written out for some reason with a slash. M-A-R slash, like a backslash. Then apostrophe. Then capital K-E-I-S-E. I like that he goes by Bucky. Marquise prefers to be called Bucky. He's officially listed as Bucky. Marquise Bucky. I prefer him as Buccaneer Irving. From now on, he's Buccaneer Irving. Did I close that? Okay. I'm doing all the rest of the stuff that's open on the screen. So I know it's 10 after 12. I know you've got other things to do. You don't have to stay. The show is the extended dance mix of Writer Radio is brought to you by Brian Janik at thefinancialguys.com. All right, moving off of power rankings, we're just going through the stuff that's here. I mentioned Judge. I didn't do the story. Cody Bellinger stood in the on-deck circle during the fourth inning Tuesday. Ideal vantage point to follow the 100-mile-an-hour fastball that Aaron Judge somehow launched from over a foot inside off the plate and into the sky down the left field line. It was perhaps the most important swing of the Yankees' 2025 season. Bellinger had one wish. I was saying just hit the effing foul pole. When it did, striking the pole 3/4 of the way to the top for a game-tying 3-run homer against the Jays, a path to survival cleared for the Yankees, who were facing elimination in Game 3 of the ALDS. And again, Game 4 tonight, and our boy Cam Schlittler is pitching. So I'm tuning in for that, and definitely we'll talk about that tomorrow on the show. Frost advisory for much of western New York. What? Coldest temperatures of the season expected overnight. No. A frost advisory has been issued. This has no impact on me. Oh, are you going to freeze my grass? I don't care. Temperatures will fall into the mid to upper 30s tonight, affecting plants and vegetation susceptible to cold temperatures. It's likely a frost advisory will be issued again for Thursday night and Friday morning. Temperature will be a bit colder across northern Pennsylvania, and thus a freeze warning has been issued For McKean County in northern Pennsylvania, their temperatures will get very close to 32. That stinks. That one's just for me. Trump on Bad Bunny. We did. Ooh, K-pop Demon Hunters. K-pop Demon Hunters singers take the Tonight Show with first full live performance of Golden. The singing stars of the Netflix smash K-pop Demon Hunters made their late-night debut on Tuesday for their first full live performance of the chart-topping single Golden. How did it go? In their sit-down interview with Fallon. So yeah, I read Jimmy Fallon's name out loud and still was thinking we were talking about Kimmel, but we're not. In their sit-down interview with Fallon, the late-night host broke news to the trio that the film's soundtrack had gone platinum, referencing the most recent Billboard 200 albums chart. The K-pop Demon Hunter soundtrack logged a second non-consecutive week at number 1 in the latest tracking week. Of the 102,000 equivalent album units earned in the latest tracking week, the record accumulated 117 million on-demand official streams. In September, the song Golden made history by leading the Hot 100 for a 5th consecutive week, making it the longest-running number 1 song by an animated act in the chart's history. What's it competing with? What other animated acts have hits? Gorillas? Does that count? Bum bum boom bum 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 bum. Happy sunshine. The future is going on. Let's go. Does that count? The California Raisins? Heard It Through the Grapevine by the California Raisins. Does that count? Did this surpass the California Raisins version of Heard It Through the Grapevine? What the hell are we talking about? All right, last thing I have open, and then we can leave. Oh, no, I've got 2 things open. Max Hairston, we were talking about him. Like to see him back with the Bills. The first-round pick who has not played. Played a tiny bit in the preseason and then was out and has been ever since. The latest story is from September 25th. Oh, my God. Where, yeah, there's some development. Sean McDermott played coy when responding to questions regarding the status of Hairston on Wednesday. This is weeks ago. He's eligible to return from IR in Week 5, which just happened, and has not yet. Appears to have increased his activity with athletic trainers compared to what was shown by reporters at the beginning of the week. So a couple weeks ago, it seemed like he was headed somewhere, and I have not heard any real update. There's a spider dropping in on my show, and now he's dead. Ha-ha! Take that, jerk. How many of those 8 legs can you use now? None. You go in the garbage, Mr. Spider. Trash. You are trash. Gotcha. All right, so that was Hairston. Is there a better update on him? Max Hairston. I heard yesterday Milano is week to week. That's not cool. Injury update. Give me something newer than September 25th, Google. 1 day ago. Sean McDermott gives update on Bill's injury situation. Okay, let's read that. Adding injury to insult after Buffalo's Week 5 loss. Well, that's not nice. The injury situation at One Bills Drive did not get any better overnight, but at least it didn't get worse. This is from Monday. Close enough. Sean McDermott met with members of the media. Don't care. As Buffalo ended the drive short of the end zone, but managed to put 3 points on the board to pull even. 5 minutes into the second quarter, Connor McGovern was seen running into the tunnel toward the locker room. Moments later, he returned to the sideline, and the Bills announced he was questionable to return with a hand injury. When the defense forced the New England punt 3 minutes later, he was back out with the offense. There were reports and videos of McGovern bleeding from the knuckles on his hand. It was stated that he had x-rays, and while it wasn't said that they were negative, the team at least didn't feel that the ailment would inhibit his play at center. Now McDermott said that the team is hopeful he'll be able to play Week 6's Monday night game against the Falcons. The other injury stemming from the Sunday was Matt Milano. Not a new injury, but the oft-injured linebacker had returned to play after sitting out the past 2.5 weeks. On Sunday night, he re-aggravated the pec injury he'd been dealing with. McDermott said he considers Milano week to week with the injury. And in McDermott speak, that means we aren't likely to see the former All-Pro linebacker until after the Bills' Week 7 bye. McDermott updated the statuses of Ed Oliver and TJ Sanders, both of whom were inactive. With Oliver, McDermott said they're hopeful he'll return this week. He was listed with an ankle injury that happened during practice midway through preparations for week 2. While he hasn't played since, he wasn't placed on IR either. Despite still missing 4 games, that decision is what could see Oliver back on the field this week. He was able to get some practice in last week, although limited. So if he can ramp it up to full participant by the end of the week, that hopeful might turn into a game day active spot. Bills were also without his backup, TJ Sanders, Sunday night. Sanders out with a knee injury that McDermott told us was something he'd been dealing with, but had flared up midweek. Lists Sanders as day-to-day, hasn't ruled out the possibility of him playing on Monday. Other player listed as day-to-day is Dorian Williams. Didn't practice at all last week after suffering a knee injury in week 4. With Milano out and the fact that Williams isn't joining him on the week-to-week status, it's a hopeful sign he'll be able to practice this week. McDermott also updated the media on the status of 3 players eligible to return from IR. Tylen Grable, Max Hairston, Tyler Bass. The update, none. McDermott said there was nothing new. There were no changes to report. If their practice windows aren't open this week, that means they won't be practicing until at least the start of week 8. That's a lot of missed time for the rookie cornerback the Bills drafted in the first round of 2025. It is worth noting that we are at the 6-game mark, and I think those suspensions are 6 games, right? Michael Hoyt, suspension. 6 games, yeah. So Larry Ogunjobi and Michael Hoyt will be eligible to return after this game against the Falcons. That's 6. So then they get 2 of their big free agent offseason signings back. So while the defense has been frustrating to watch, it's also frustrating that, like half of the guys that they planned on playing are not out there. So that's something. Are they both totally up to speed and ready to go? I don't know. Hope so. I'm sure they've been practicing and working out and all that stuff, right? They're not suspended from that. They just can't play in games. So it's not like they've been sitting on the couch and now they have to become football players. I'm sure they're good to go. I haven't heard anything injury-wise there. So, yeah, that's a nice little addition after this next matchup with the Atlanta Falcons. All right, done with that story. And then the last one was Bill Burr fires back at critics of his Riyadh Comedy Festival appearance. Sanctimonious C-words. Wow. The veteran comedy superstar doesn't give a F what anyone thinks of his recent trip to Saudi Arabia. He said, if it affects my career, I've been to LAX enough in my life. I'll sit home for a little bit. A lot of people went. Didn't hear any reports of problems. Just a bunch of comics were given a large sum of money to perform in Saudi Arabia. And Shane Gillis said no, and I think everyone else said yes, it seems. Conan O'Brien was quick to note that his longtime friend and frequent guest had, quote, been in the news, an observation that likely did not come as a surprise to anyone in the room. Burr was among the 50 or so high-profile comedians who traveled to Saudi Arabia for the Riyadh Comedy Festival, taking place September 26th through tomorrow, October 9th. Or maybe that's already today in Saudi Arabia. Today's probably the 9th. No, I don't know. I don't know how that stuff works. Once we hit noon. We did hit noon. Today is tomorrow, right? It's on the other side of the date line. It probably is. If it's not, I'm sorry. Roster included Burr. I mentioned Bill Burr. Dave Chappelle, Louis C.K., Kevin Hart. All the biggest names. Except for Shane Gillis. Pete Davidson, Whitney Cummings, Andrew Schultz. Does not belong on this list. Aziz Ansari, Jim Jeffries, Joe Coy. Does not belong on the list. Sebastian Maniscalco, Mark Normand, Tom Segura, Bobby Lee, Jeff Ross, and more. Mark Maron's been outspoken about it. David Cross has been outspoken about it. Atsuko Okatsuka. That guy's funny. Japanese dude based in Toronto. I think that's who that is. He's been on Kill Tony. That guy's good. I like him. He was complaining about this. We listen to him now? He's been on Kill Tony 3 times or something. Huh. All right, I'm done. Thanks for listening. Thanks for chiming in. Thanks for sharing, doing all the stuff. All the stuff you do, keep it up. I appreciate it. Sharing is the best. Following, liking, subscribing, also very useful and helpful to keep Writer Radio afloat. That is the move, man. Spread the word. And if you'd like to be a sponsor, let me know, because we could use more sponsors. This doesn't have to just be about Brian Janik and thefinancialguys.com, although we're glad to have them on board. The thought was, let's bring them in, and then people know that they can sponsor the show, and then they'll sponsor the show. Have I followed up with anyone on it at all? No. I'm terrible at that part of this. I'm good at the part where I just talk. The rest of it, it has to come to me. I shouldn't be that way, but I don't know. We'll get to it. It'll be fine. All right. I'm done. I'm going to play a song and shut this thing down for the day. It'll be posted as a podcast. Please subscribe to the podcast on Spotify. Spotify sent me an email telling me that I'm not doing my job of getting people to subscribe. They said with the number of people that are listening, way more people should subscribe. It's like 1/3 of what would be expected to be subscribers based on the numbers that are listening. We got like 1/3 of what we should have. So I guess I don't stress that enough. I'm not good at that part of it. I hate the self-promotion thing. You might think, oh, this guy loves the sound of his own voice. No, I like doing a show. But I don't like talking about it. If you follow me on Twitter or X or Instagram or whatever, I put stuff on there, but every time I do it, I was like, ugh, it's gross. But I know that's the way the world works, so I'm just going to ask in as polite a way as possible to just do the stuff. Make this easier. I'll do the show part. You do the telling people about it part, and I think that's fair. Right? Want to hear something from my 80s mellow playlist? I kind of do. Do you like the song The Flame by Cheap Trick? I love the song The Flame by Cheap Trick. It just hit at the right time. It was a ballad when I was 13 years old or something. Like, it just worked, man. I haven't listened to it in forever, but I've got it on this 80s mellow playlist. So we're going to hit that. We'll be out of here and then come back tomorrow at 10 o'clock for episode 184 of Rider Radio. Thank you for listening. Bye.
What are you doing for lunch?
I don't know. I have a turkey sandwich.
We're gonna go around the corner. I think you should come with us. This is a great place.
I don't know. Okay.
We brought you a shirt.
Will you get out of here? Will you get out of here? Will you? Now, will you go to lunch? Go to lunch. Will you go to lunch?